Here's the strange thing about sleep paralysis. You can scoff at ghosts and still watch one lean over your bed. The difference is what you call it afterward. I'm a rational person, the kind who Googles symptoms before feelings. I knew about REM atonia, hypnopompic hallucinations, the brain's alarm system misfiring while the body stays locked. None of that knowledge helped the night my eyes opened at 3:14 a.m. and the dark stepped closer like it had legs. I don't believe in the supernatural. I believe in bad wiring. But that night, someone else believed in me first. Or so. My name is Maya. I'm 27, an internal medicine resident in Seattle, and on call weeks I sleep like a phone at 1%. I had just moved into a studio near the hospital, 6th floor, streetlights slicing the blinds. I fell asleep reading a paper about nocturnal panic. At 3:14, like I said, my eyes clicked awake, brain bright, body gone. No fingers, no jaw, not even the swallow reflex. The room looked normal until it didn't. The closet door, which I shut, stood open 4 inches, and something darker than the dark filled the gap and listened. I tried to blink a code to prove I wasn't dreaming, but my eyelids hung like lead. A pressure sat mid-chest, not crushing, more like the weight of a cat that wasn't there. The apartment sounds stretched thin. The building's elevator groaned somewhere. A baseboard ticked. A siren washed the window and went away. The shape in the closet resolved into a man the way constellations become hunters if you outline them. Broad shoulders, no face. A notch where a hat brim might be. He didn't move. He let the dark pour off him while my breath rasped shallow. I'm trained to name things. Name it panic. Name it REM intrusion. Name it hypnopompic hallucination. My lizard brain didn't care. I tried to swallow and could not. I tried to say Evan. Out of habit, my brother's name, and my tongue lay heavy as a glove. I focused on one big toe the way an anesthesiologist once told me. Move the toe, she'd said. Steal back a toe, steal back a leg. Seconds dripped. The figure tilted, a degree that looked like leaning. The hallway light outside my door flicked under the threshold, then went black. Footsteps passed, soft, indifferent nearby. When my toe finally jerked, it felt like a string yanked in from somewhere else. My jaw softened, breath deepened, limbs flooded with pins, and I jackknifed it up so fast I saw static. The closet door was shut, not cracked, shut. I kept the lamp off and sat there, hands shaking the blanket, heart limping in my throat. Skepticism isn't bravery. It's a method. I got up, counted to 5 and opened the closet. Coats, the cheap vac, a shoebox. No hat, no man. I laughed once in relief and hated the sound. In the morning, my throat ached anyway. I did what a scientist does when a result scares them. I tried to replicate it. The next night, I set my phone on a stack of books with the camera on me and the voice recorder rolling. I told myself I was making a teaching point for a lecture. At 3:29, the paralysis came like a curtain drop. The camera's red eye glowed. The same weight, the same door in my mind opening onto a darker room. After I could move, I checked the recordings. Video showed me still as stone. Audio caught a whisper that was me counting. I wanted a shadow on the video, proof of the brain inventing shadows. What I got was more ordinary and, somehow, worse. The closet never budged. My eyes were half open the whole time. I watched my chest barely ripple for 40 seconds, then stutter like someone took their finger off my lungs. Between breaths, a click landed on the audio. The same click my door lock makes when my deadbolt spring slips. In the morning, there was nothing to see. No marks, no scuffs. The rational story still holds. I just wish it explained why the air tasted electric. I told nobody for 3 weeks. Not because I feared ridicule, but because telling it made it sound like I was trying to sell you something I don't buy. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in a terrified brain that paints warnings on a blank wall. But here's the part my ward lectures didn't cover. The morning after the second episode, I found a crescent of skin oil on the inside of the closet door, right where a hand would rest to lean. Maybe mine, forgotten errand. Maybe the mover. I wiped it off and laughed until I cried. If you're waiting for me to say it was a ghost, you'll wait forever. A diagnosis didn't change how it felt when the room leaned toward me and held its breath. That's the trick of sleep paralysis. It makes your body certain and your beliefs irrelevant. You can declaw the story later by naming chemicals. In the moment, the shape in the doorway names you. Maya, it seemed to say, without sound. Later, I said the same name out loud to prove I was back. Somewhere else, someone with the same skepticism would learn the same lesson a harder way. Before this, I would have told you I was immune because I understood the mechanism. Understanding didn't save me. It only gave me better vocabulary while I waited to move. That's why I believe people like me are the worst audience for haunted tales. We think we're above them, and then our nerves teach us humility in the dark. That night taught me two truths at once. Nothing supernatural touched me, and I have never felt watched. The second account comes from a person less inclined to mysticism than I am. He builds machines for a living. He stopped sleeping. My name is Ethan. I'm 34, a robotics prototype tech in Minneapolis, the kind of guy whose apartment is half couch, half parts bins. I build things that move the way you tell them to. I don't believe in things that move on their own. The first time it happened, I'd pulled a 13-hour shift trying to get a 6-axis arm to stop chattering at low speeds. I crashed on my back because my shoulders were cooked. At 2:41 a.m., my eyes opened to my bedroom lit in sodium streetlight orange, and I was a statue pinned under warm, wet sand. There's a difference between tired and trapped. My brain was on, bright as a shop light. My body was unplugged. Couldn't clear my throat. The ceiling fan ticked an off-kilter rhythm I could sketch with a pencil. The bedroom door stood at its usual 3-inch crack because I dislike clicking latches in old buildings. Beyond the gap, the hall sat darker than it should have, as if the darkness had depth. Something was at the door, not a shape I could measure, just a taller black vertical where the less black should be. I told myself it was the coat on the hallway hook leaning left. The taller black leaned right. I tried to flex a finger. Nothing. I counted 10 breaths trying to ride the panic out. The dark at the crack seemed to tilt its head the way you do when you're not sure if a machine is on. When breath 11 didn't arrive, my chest went hot cold. I thought of every time I've told someone paralysis is a REM misfire and felt like a fraud. My eyes watered and I couldn't blink them clear. There was a small sound. A click, metal on metal. The polite kiss of a spring-loaded latch seat shifting. The door didn't move. The sound came anyway. The body comes back ugly. It's like every motor wakes at once, staggers, then sinks. A toe shivered. My jaw popped. Air flooded in with a buzz and pins, and I yanked myself up so fast my ribs hurt. The door hadn't budged. The coat still leaned left. I laughed at myself out loud and drank water till my throat stopped sounding like paper. Then I lay there with the lamp on telling myself a story smart enough to fall asleep to. It worked. For one night, I did not buy sage. I did what I do at work when a system behaves weirdly. I instrumented. I put a cheap Wi-Fi camera on a shelf with night vision set to off because those diodes throw a faint red, and I didn't want new lights in the room. I set my phone to run a sleep app that records noises above a threshold. I clipped my Garmin on because it tracks heart rate and SpO2. I taped a piece of blue painter's tape across the door and jamb so any motion would shear it. Knowing calms me. Sometimes. At 3:03 a.m. it came back like a scheduled test. Vision first, movement gone. The alarm clock cast soft green bars across the duvet. My tongue lay heavy and hot. The door crack looked wrong again. Not wider or narrower, just wrong. It took me 3 seconds to realize there was a third vertical in the gap, as if something stood just beyond the door and planted a hand flat against the frame. Not a hand I could draw. The suggestion of weight where light should live. The fan tick had changed interval, or my sense of it had. Behind the hallway dark, farther down, a fainter orange pulsed and dimmed like someone flicked a phone screen on, off, on. I tried for the left pinky. Nothing. I tried for the tongue, pictured the nerve maps, pictured signal noise. My heart monitor, too far away to read, felt like a stuck solenoid thudding in a box. The tick of the fan hiccuped once as if something had interrupted it with a fingertip, and the third vertical shifted, closer to the hinge. No footfall, no breath, just position change without cause. When my body returned, It did it with a shudder I couldn't bite back, and I reached the door in 2 strides. The blue tape lay unbroken. The hall was empty except for the coat and the waver of heat from the baseboard. Morning after, I pulled logs. Camera. Nothing but grain and my own rise into a panic sit-up like a marionette yanked too hard. Audio. 2 clicks 31 seconds apart. Metal on metal, soft enough to question. Repeatable enough to hate. Garmin showed an abrupt spike from 59 to 122 beats per minute at 3:03 exactly. Then a valley, then another peak at 3:04, like a graph of a small animal seeing a hawk. Data says it was me, alone, frightened. Data did not explain the way the fan tick paused like a thing held its breath. 3 nights later I fell asleep in the living room on purpose, because new context can reset bad loops. I killed every LED I could reach and left the TV off to use its black as a mirror for the room. At 2:58 the paralysis slid in sideways, no warning this time, and while I watched my own faint shape in the television glass, the hallway not reflected there seemed brighter than the hallway I could see. Something moved in the not picture. A person height blot whose edges didn't persuade the glass to do anything but accept them. In the room itself, nothing changed. In the reflection, it took 2 steps toward where I lay. I hate mystical answers. I looked for mechanical ones. I checked neighbor doors for shared walls. No elevators hummed. I pressed the TV. Static licked my fingertip. Low on the bevel. A thumb smear half wiped to a crescent. Mine? Probably. I wiped it and told myself simple stories until dawn. I still didn't sleep that day. My name is Talia. I'm 36, an electrical grid dispatcher in Denver. My job is nothing but cause, effect, and alarms you can measure. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in SCADA points and load curves. I work nights often, so I nap odd hours. The first time it happened was a Sunday at 3:12 a.m. The window humming with wind and the baseboard ticking from the cold snap. I woke to the room perfect and wrong at once. Lamp, plant, clock, all where they belonged, and me unable to move a single muscle. The worst part wasn't the weight. It was the quiet. Dispatch has taught me to hear when a system wants to fail. My apartment wanted to sound like itself, and it didn't. The fridge never cycled. The upstairs neighbor, usually a walking metronome, was gone. I stared at the foot of the bed and told myself the thing brightening there was simply my pupils trying to make pattern. It looked like a person standing too close to be polite, head cocked, hands at sides, as if waiting to be acknowledged. I tried to flex one calf. Nothing. My tongue lay flat and hot. The smoke detector blinked its green every 30 seconds like always. It was comforting until it wasn't. Between 2 blinks, the figure leaned, a degree of forward that read as interest. I felt the old childish impulse to pull the covers over my head. I could not lift a knuckle. Somewhere a little relay clicked. That sound, more than the shape, tore at me. I hear that click in the control room when breakers throw. My phone lay on the nightstand. The screen stayed black. But a tone rose anyway. The brief buzz my security system gives when a sensor changes state. It stuttered, 2 short chirps as if something had touched a door and let go. The figure at the bed did not move. My chest finally seized a full breath, and the room snapped back into the cheap racket of baseboard and wind. I bolted upright so fast my throat burned. The foot of the bed was empty. The lamp was a lamp again. I opened the security app with shaking hands. Timeline. Front door open. Restored. 3 hours 12 minutes and 41 seconds. Duration 1 second. Battery levels fine. Signal strong. I checked the deadbolt. It was vertical the way I left it. The door chain hung slack and normal. Thermal contraction can bounce a reed switch, I told myself. The system can sneeze. It didn't end there. The next week I napped at noon. Blinds up. Phone on my chest. Paralysis took me anyway. Same lock, same heat. But this time the figure waited by the window, backlit by plain blue sky. While I watched it harden from glare, the security chime gave one dry chirp. Timeline. Bedroom window open. Restored. 1 second, 12:12 p.m. The latch was still latched. I don't believe in ghosts. I believe in systems. Sometimes they confirm the fear they cannot measure either.